time for senior producer from NFL Films, Greg Cosell, to join us as we dice up the X's and O's for Bills Patriots, the biggest game of the year for the Bills for sure, as the division title is on the line. How the heck are you, Greg?
Well, I'm excited to talk about the biggest game in the history of Western civilization as we know it.
There you go. I'm glad you got it.
We appreciate the
I'm
hyperbole.
glad you see things the way we do. Okay. There is a lot of question marks about this game, though, even though these two teams play each other twice every year. The first game this year, 40-mile-an-hour winds. The Patriots didn't have to throw it at all, threw it 3 times, completed 2 of them. The Bills have no idea what they think of the Patriots think about the Bills' secondary. Are the Bills going to be able to score points on a really tough defense to score points on? What do you think this game will look like in best case, your best guess?
Well, my guess is we know what the Bills' offense will look like. I don't think we know what the Patriots' offense will look like.
Right.
The Bills' offense is essentially the same every week. If someone just looked at the box score and saw 22 carries for Singletary, they might think the Bills played differently. But as you guys know, they really didn't play that differently. I think half of those, if not more, came in the fourth quarter with a two-score lead. Up to that point, they had pretty much been their normal pass-heavy offense. And and quite honestly, and I'm just speaking to the tape, guys. You know that's what I do. I think it's taking a toll on Josh Allen. I think with the O-line having to be reshuffled a little bit and some concerns there, as we've discussed and documented all season, I think you're starting to see Josh be a little undisciplined, move unnecessarily. And last year, he did not really do that. He's more than capable of making great plays when he does that, but it also leads to a little random nature to his play. And I think he's going to have to play probably his best game of the season on Sunday. I don't know what the weather's supposed to be. Is that supposed to be an issue?
Doesn't look like it at this point, so we should be okay on that. 40 degrees, not any significant wind of note, 10
well, there
miles
you go.
an hour.
As they say, Chris, I guess that's football weather, right? So, I think that we know what the Bills will look like. Even without Cole Beasley, the offense won't change dramatically. McKenzie will get snaps. I imagine Kumaro will get some snaps as well. We've seen Davis really come on in the last couple of weeks. We've seen that Josh feels comfortable throwing him the ball. That first touchdown he threw to him this week was an interesting one because it was 2-man coverage, and he saw the back of the defender. But that's still a confident throw. You have to believe in your receiver to make that throw, as you know, Steve. So I think there's a sense that Davis is now becoming someone that Josh Allen feels very comfortable throwing the ball to, and I think that's a big factor in this game because I can't imagine that it'll be any different. One thing we know about Bill Belichick is he does play man. They've played a little more zone recently, but he will match up J.C. Jackson on Stephon Diggs. I think we pretty much know that.
Right, yeah. The next-gen stats actually indicate that in the last 3 meetings between the Bills and the Patriots, they've had J.C. Jackson match up and shadow Stephon Diggs on 90% of the snaps. So that's pretty much following him around for all intents and purposes.
What do you think the Bills' offense will do with the absence of Cole Beasley? I mean, they're certainly not going to just run some other personnel combination. They run 11 too much, probably just to abandon it.
Yeah, I guess the question is, we know they're going to throw it, okay? They're not all of a sudden going to become a run-first team. And by the way, despite what happened last week with the Patriots, they're a pretty good run defense. So, and that's not what the Bills do. So they are going to throw it. So the question you're really asking is, what's it going to look like? I can't imagine the overall scheming of it will look dramatically different. I mean, obviously, Cole Beasley is very, very good at finding voids in zone coverage. He's very good at those quick sort of pivot routes, whip routes, those kinds of routes against man. I think McKenzie's a little different kind of player. He's a more straight line, explosive athlete. You can certainly use McKenzie on jet sweeps. You don't really see Beasley used that way. Maybe that's an added feature to the offense this week. I think that you could see McKenzie just in general be used more in motion just to get a feel for how the Patriots might defend that. We've seen that before. So I think there'll be some added wrinkles with McKenzie because he's different than Beasley, but he's also not as good as Beasley in certain areas that Josh Allen is clearly comfortable with.
So, with that in mind, how might the conversation change if Emmanuel Sanders is back from his knee injury? Stephon Diggs was just addressing the Buffalo media
Yeah.
after practice today and gave indication that Sanders will be back in the lineup. He does have experience in the slot. How might would he be a better option in the scope of this offense than, say, McKenzie, who's been used more on the fringes, with a lot of that jet sweep motion that you
Yeah.
talked about?
Yeah, well, that's the question, because Sanders in his career has lined up both outside and in the slot, and he's very comfortable in each spot. So, that could be a big factor. They'd probably feel pretty good if Sanders could play, and they'd have Diggs, Sanders, and Davis as the three wideouts in this game, along with Dawson Knox, of course, as the tight end. They're going to have to make plays in the passing game to win this game. There's no question. They're not going to win this game running the football. So we know they're going to have to make plays in the passing game. And to do that, it starts with protection. So that is the key thing. I think that's one of the reasons this year, quite honestly, guys, that we've seen so many quick game throws and not a lot of vertical throws. Last year, we saw a lot more vertical throws down the field. We've not seen anywhere near that this year. I mean, I thought last year the route concepts they had vertically were really good. We haven't seen many of those this year. My guess is it's the protection issue.
Right, and that it goes to hand in hand with the fact their offensive line. We talk about it all the time here. Their offensive line has been shuffled a ton with injuries, with COVID, with absences, with shifting around. Darrell Williams has played right tackle and right guard. Mitch Morse has been the only stalwart, the guy that's actually been planted in there and not moved. Deion Dawkins is now out, and that was before getting a late start with COVID way back in training camp, and now he's out with the same thing, COVID again.
So is he definitely out this Sunday?
Huh? We don't know yet. He's got a shot at it, but he hasn't been. He can't even get in the building, let alone come in and play left tackle against the Patriots. That'll be a big ask, So you got Feliciano with his calf injury, then COVID. Spencer Brown was out with COVID and a back injury. So the offensive line has been a complete mess for 8 weeks. And it showed last week early, even in the Carolina game.
Without question.
Right. What did you see?
And again, I agree with you. And I think, look, Spencer Brown moved to left tackle. That's the position I believe he played in college. But he struggled at times with Brian Burns. He's probably not quite ready to be an NFL left tackle on a weekly basis, but there's no choice right now. He's certainly athletic enough. He has to get stronger. That'll probably happen with another year, another off season, because he's really built like a basketball player. He's kind of long, he's sinewy, he's athletic. He just needs to get stronger. So yeah, that's to me. And again, I can't speak to what's in Josh Allen's head, but Steve, that quarterbacks, when they're under pressure a lot, two things start to happen. They start to anticipate that they'll be under pressure, and they start to perceive pressure that's not really pressure. And when those two things happen, quarterbacks move unnecessarily, and they break down and disrupt the timing of the play.
Right. So, and if they get that straightened out, you still have the question of, are they going to be able to run block? Are they going to be able to pass block? Can they win the line of scrimmage? And plus, how versatile can they be, and how much confidence Daboll has in them to run the full complement of plays? Plus, they're going to go against a defense with the Patriots that's really executes well.
Yeah, and you made a great point, because if you're not going to get big plays, it's one thing if your offense can have some hiccups through a game if you hit some big plays, as because that's the deodorant. If you can hit some big plays, you're good. But this is a difficult defense to go 12, 13 plays down the field, and if that's going to be their approach, if they stay with the approach of the quick game throws, the 6-yard throws, the hitches to Diggs, those kinds of throws, that takes a long time. It's tough to score that way. It's tough to score a lot of points that way. So we'll see what their approach is, but we all know that they're going to throw the football. The question is, can you really ask Josh Allen against that defense to drop back 45 times?
Right. Let's flip it around to the Patriots offense. And one thing that I've noticed, Greg, is their third down conversion rate has dropped off precipitously the last 4 weeks. It's trending about 10% below their season average. Over the last 4 weeks, it's like 32.5% conversion rate. Obviously, getting into some more long down and distance situations has been one of the main culprits because of that. I'm just curious what you've seen from this Patriots offense, probably over their last 4 games, that seems to have them a little hamstrung on third down. And obviously, the Bills game is included in that, where weather was a factor in compromised play calling.
Sure. I think that the point you made, and I haven't studied all the third and what the distance situations are, but as you said, they've been in longer yardage situations, and that puts more of a burden on Mac Jones, because Mac Jones, he's played very efficiently. I think because it's New England and they won 7 in a row, people have the sense that, man, this guy's in the MVP conversation, which is a little ridiculous, but he still played very well for a rookie quarterback. But he's played well a certain way, Chris, and you really kind of nailed it kind of implicitly in what you said. He's been able to get rid of the ball really quickly. There's a lot of quick game throws. There's a lot of defined reads and throws where the ball can come out. That changes when you get into third and long, as you guys know. It's a little different when it's third and long. You can't just drop back, hit your back foot, and throw it 6 yards if it's 3rd and 9. So I think that's where you start to run in a little bit of an issue. And if you're a Patriots fan, that ideally is the next step and stage in Mac Jones' development, which is what they'll work with him on in the offseason. But right now, he's not really ready to be the kind of guy that if you're in meaningful 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 9s, those kinds of plays, he's not quite there yet to really do that. So that becomes where the Bills have to get this offense. They've got to get them into long yardage situations. And obviously, the last game, even with only 3 passes thrown, there was just too much domination running the football that they couldn't get them into long yardage anyway.
What did we learn about Mac Jones and the New England offense when we saw them trying to catch up last weekend in Indianapolis?
Well, I will say this. I thought he actually played pretty well when he tried to catch up. The one thing is when you get ahead like that, what a lot of defenses do is they play more zone. And that's exactly what Indianapolis did. Now, Indianapolis has played a lot of man coverage this year, but they played a lot of zone. And the one thing that Josh McDaniels is really, really good at is schemed throws. Because if you know you're getting zone, then you know the route concepts that can beat zone. They're schemed throws. And those throws Mac Jones executes well because he knows where the voids are and it's schemed. So I actually thought he played well down the stretch. The interception by Leonard in the red zone was one that kind of really surprised me by Mac Jones, because it ended up just being cover 3, and only he could tell you this, but I don't know where he thought Darius Leonard was going to be, because he was just the hook defender in cover 3, and he threw it right to him. I mean, and then you could see him as soon as he threw it, as we're looking at the play, he did not account for Darius Leonard at all, but he was the hook defender in cover 3, and he basically threw it right to him.
And then, Greg, there is a little bit of a play-action battle in this one. Mac Jones has been extraordinarily efficient in play-action, has one of the highest completion percentages off play-action passes, but the Bills' defense is number 1 in the league in opponent passer rating, defending play-action, and I think I should throw this in. Josh Allen leads the league in play-action pass touchdowns with 14 this season.
Yep.
So how does that battle shake out, I guess, primarily with Mac Jones in the play-action game and the Bills being so good at defending it, not being fooled by it, I guess?
Their play-action game is a little different because a lot of it comes out of base personnel. And so it'll be interesting. We know that the Bills went right back to playing 100% nickel this week after playing 28 snaps against the Patriots with a third linebacker on the field. So I guess what I'm fascinated by, Chris, and I guess we won't know the answer to this until Sunday when the game is played, is if the Patriots do line up, and again, they're going to throw it more than 3 times, but if they do line up with the fullback, which they do, if they do line up with 6 offensive linemen, which they do, what are the Bills going to do from a personnel standpoint? Are they going to stay 100% nickel, or are they going to put a third linebacker on the field? To me, that is one of the big personnel questions of this game.
One of the things that the Patriots do so well is their pass defense, their secondary allows only like 185 yards a game through the air. Why are they so effective as a defense? Because I know Judon is having a fantastic year and is extremely good at pass rusher, but why is their defense so good against not giving up points, plus being really difficult to throw at?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Look, they had been a high percentage man coverage defense. The last number of years, they've always been among the highest percentage playing cover one, which is man coverage with a single high safety, as you know. This year, when they lost Jonathan Jones, they sort of morphed a bit. He was their slot corner. They morphed a bit into playing a little more zone coverage, but they're still pretty much a man-based defense. They play it really well. They've been able to speed up quarterbacks quite a bit. I think my guess is, and I'm not there, but my guess is they teach technique really well to DBs. I would guess that that's true. And they're just not a team that gives up a lot of big plays. I mean, that's been the MO for Belichick. Belichick is not about what you do between the 20s. He's about how he matches up to you in critical situations. And all of a sudden there's a double, Steve. All of a sudden there's a bracket coverage. All of a sudden there's a cover zero blitz. He's a situational guy. So, he doesn't care about being number one in defense in terms of yards allowed. He cares about points. And they don't give up a lot of points.
Right.
Last one I've got for you, Greg. Dane Jackson's been in the lineup for about 4 games now. Just curious what your thoughts are in watching him on film. Granted, there probably wasn't much to pull off the tape in the first New England game after 3 pass attempts by the Patriots. But maybe, how did he fare, do you think, against Tampa and then Carolina here, and some of his early action in the starting lineup in place of Tre'Davious White?
I guess the way I'd answer that, because I don't want to make something up because I haven't studied him as a pure individual, but I haven't noticed him, which is a good sign. So, because very often when I'm watching games, if I see a corner that someone's going after, then I really notice him. So obviously he's not Tre'Davious White, but up to this point, I don't think he's been a liability. I mean, when they played the Bucs, obviously Brady is going to, get it out there. I think he had the play we're looking at now. I can't remember. I know he had an interference call on one play against the Bucs. That was a big one. But, I haven't noticed him in a negative way. I haven't felt like, wow, they're really going after him and they're killing him, which I feel sometimes when I watch certain corners. So, this might, who knows, maybe this is the week. I'll tell you one thing, and you guys both know this. It will not be the exact same game plan with Bill Belichick that it was 2 weeks ago. That will not be the case. Now, they'll run the ball because that's what they do to a large extent, but it will not be the same.
Yep, I agree with you, Greg. Thanks a lot, Greg. Appreciate you.
Yeah, enjoy your holiday weekend.
Happy
We'll catch
holidays.
up with you next
guys.
week.
Appreciate it. Thanks.